Karen's audacity reached a dangerously absurd level when the HOA called 911 to stop me from moving into my new cabin, assuming that their authority, entitlement, and boldness could override property rights and personal freedom. She believed that intimidation, threats, and aggressive action would bend reality to her will. What she did not anticipate was that the moment law enforcement arrived, they would be greeted by the reality of her audacious miscalculation, and that her plan would collapse spectacularly. It began early on a crisp morning when moving trucks pulled up to my property. Karen, emboldened by HOA authority and her audacious belief that she could control everyone, had immediately called 911, claiming illegal occupancy and threatening that the authorities needed to intervene before the move could proceed. Her assumption was audacious. She believed that mere threats and the illusion of power could override documented property ownership, legal rights, and preparation. As the first officers arrived, my family and I stepped outside calmly. All property deeds, permits, and legal documentation were ready and verified. Karen, watching from a distance, assumed that the officers would intimidate us into compliance. She did not anticipate that the law recognizes clear property rights and that any attempt to falsely enforce HOA rules could have serious consequences. Her audacity, once intimidating to neighbors, was now being exposed as reckless and misguided. The officers approached, prepared to assess the situation. I presented the complete legal documentation, confirming full ownership and the right to occupy the property. Every prior attempt by the HOA to interfere, every unauthorized fine, and every aggressive communication from Karen had been fully documented and recorded. The audacity of calling law enforcement to enforce a baseless claim backfired immediately. Karen attempted to escalate remotely, shouting instructions to HOA representatives and urging the officers to take action. Her audacious attempt to manipulate the law collapsed in real time. The officers, now fully aware of the facts, calmly explained to her and the assembled HOA representatives that any further interference would constitute harassment, obstruction of legal occupancy, and potential civil and criminal liability. Neighbors began to gather, witnessing the public unraveling of Karen's plan. Her audacity, which had previously intimidated others into compliance, now appeared reckless, foolish, and legally indefensible. Every shout, every instruction, and every attempt to assert perceived authority was captured on camera and documented for potential legal action. Karen's boldness, intended to manipulate reality, had instead exposed her to serious consequences. With law enforcement on scene, I continued moving my possessions into the cabin without interruption. Karen's audacious interference had no effect on the process, which was fully legal and within my rights. The officers ensured that no further HOA attempts at harassment would occur and made it clear that any further audacious behavior from Karen or her representatives would be met with legal action. By mid-afternoon, the situation was fully under control. Karen, humiliated and frustrated, realized that her audacity had not intimidated, coerced, or manipulated us. Instead, it had resulted in documentation, exposure, and legal accountability. Her audacious assumption that she could use HOA authority to block my lawful move had failed completely. Reflecting on the incident, the lesson was unmistakable. Audacity, when misapplied against legal authority, property rights, and prepared individuals, collapses spectacularly. Karen had assumed that aggression, boldness, and perceived HOA power could manipulate reality, but her reckless overreach ensured exposure, accountability, and public humiliation. By evening, my cabin was fully occupied, the property secure, and Karen's audacious interference thoroughly documented. Cedar Pines residents absorbed a vivid lesson. Entitlement, aggression, and audacity untempered by legality, preparation, and respect for authority inevitably collapse under accountability. Karen's bold attempt, intended to intimidate, manipulate, and coerce compliance, had failed completely. Her audacity, once feared, became the instrument of her downfall, teaching a clear and enduring lesson in the limits of reckless entitlement, aggression, and overreach. Her reckless behavior guaranteed exposure, legal accountability, and lasting public disgrace.